March jobs report, of course, due out tomorrow. Also in about 10 minutes, 12 minutes actually to be exact, or less than 10 minutes. What am I saying? We're going to get jobless claims number. My next guest expects a jump in jobs, though, for tomorrow because of the hiring of the census workers. Brian Fabbri is chief economist at BNP Paribas. He is rated a Bloomberg best economist for labor. Joining me now from his studio across town. Brian, good to have you with us. And, let me start off first with jobless claims, because we seem to be hovering around this 450,000 level with the claims. What does that tell you about where we are in terms of the monthly jobs picture and the unemployment rate?
Well, of course, initial claims, which is the key ingredient behind the unemployment rate and people getting laid off, they've obviously come down, and they've come down significantly. I think the peak was somewhere, the 4-week moving average peak was somewhere in the 650s, and now we're in the 450 area. So obviously a substantial reduction in new claims. And that says to me that probably the worst of job layoffs, maybe all of the job layoffs, are now behind us. But unfortunately, it's the continuing claims. They've come down, but when you look at the extended benefit claims, they keep rising, and unfortunately that just says that while we may not be business is not letting go people, they're not hiring them either. And I think that's the combination of thoughts that's behind the claims data, and I think we'll have more of the same in a few minutes.
Right, we're not seeing a huge private sector job growth, essentially, Brian. And you note that for tomorrow, for maybe perhaps the months to come, we're going to see a lot of noise in these monthly jobs reports, right? Because a lot of this is going to be due to the hiring of census workers.
Well, the government has said that they wanted to hire at least 1 million people to take the census. That's a lot bigger than any other census that we've ever had before. Obviously, we have more people, so proportionately, it's still bigger. And those numbers are going to affect March, April, and May in the hiring side. So we have to filter in, some guesses about which months are going to be bigger. My guess would be April, May will be bigger than March. But even in March, 250,000 census workers are likely to be hired, and then even bigger numbers in April and May. And then, of course, since they're mostly about a 3-month job, they start to get laid off in June, July, and August. And
so the
probably
summer. So maybe in the summer is when we'll get some cleaner numbers then.
No, because remember that the minus 1 million will take place in June, July, and August. That basically will undermine all of the data. So we get a temporary boost to it, then a temporary reduction in it. Remember that this will also affect the unemployment rates. Obviously, with a lot of new jobs, it probably will reduce the unemployment rate several tenths of a percentage point. Maybe we'll be looking at 9.3, 9.4 in May. And then, of course, as these people get laid off, they stay in the labor force probably, and that will boost the unemployment rate straight up again, maybe back to 9.7.
But Brian, the net, what do you expect then in terms of when we're going to actually see jobs growth, real jobs growth, net?
I think you just have to discount all of the census workers. Look at the private sector job creation, and what we know about that is there's a couple of really weak areas: state and local government, civil service workers still being laid off, construction workers still far too many relative to the number of new starts, and then it's the service side. What we're getting in service jobs is really temporary jobs. It probably will be at some months before we see a sizable increase in real private sector service jobs, and I think that's really probably somewhere later in the second half of this year.